Welcome back, Richard. It's good to see you on this fine Mother's Day weekend.
Mother's Day weekend or week or day or however you celebrate it. One of the big events, I heard late yesterday that Mother's Day, it is Mother's Day that there are more restaurant meals served on Mother's Day than any other day of the year. So
makes sense.
Yeah, mom doesn't have to cook. She just has to pay for it or something like that. Anyway, I was also looking at the date today. It's May 13th. 13th, 14th. We're almost in the middle of May,
Yep.
barely through the month. So as with everything else, going by very quickly.
It is. And, so we thought that we would, we talked about a lot of things over the last few weeks. And my goodness, there's a lot of stuff going on in the news.
It's a busy month. Yeah.
More horrible mass shootings. Here in Florida, there's all kinds of things happening with the government and with the legislation's decisions. And we have, not to mention federal or legal stuff going on, government stuff going on. We thought we'd take a little bit of time to talk about moms today.
Yeah, May is one of those months. There's Mother's Day, graduation is in May.
Yeah.
May is Mental Health Month. We have everything that's going on in the world today that make us pause, and we're always worried about these things. But you're right. We thought, well, wait, let's hit the pause button, and let's take a break from all this stuff and focus at least for a day, if you're fortunate, a couple of days or a week, to celebrate our mothers.
Yeah. There's a lot that's said about moms, both sort of positive things. There's, of course, memes and all kinds of other things about moms. And there's not a lot that can be said to improve upon some things that have been said. But in the work that we do, there are lots of times when we work with people who are dealing with issues that are rooted in their relationship with their parents, especially their mothers. But their fathers also. There's so much of who we are that is, as we age and become adults, there's so much of who we are that is rooted in those early relationships and how we saw and how our mothers interacted with us and treated us and talked to us and how they made us feel in general. And so, they play such a critical, important role in our lives. And, it's so interesting to see that. I don't know that it's necessarily a dichotomy, but that juxtaposition between, you spend so much of your life trying to get away from your mom as you're aging and trying to go through those early years. And then to see that when you look back, it's, hopefully all the appreciation and the love that you feel for, what she did for you and how she helped you through those times.
Yeah, the mother-child relationship is unique in the universe, in our relation. It's a unique relationship, regardless of the quality of that relationship. There's a bond, there's an inescapable bond that exists between us and our parents, but especially our mothers. There's some special relationship that just continues, no matter the quality of the relationship. There are people who don't have a good relationship, may not have a good relationship with their mother or the relationship they'd like to have, but yet there is still this bond that binds you to your parents and especially binds you to your mother. In our field, there's a guy by the name of Carl Jung. He was, until they had a falling out, it was assumed that Jung would take over Freud's legacy, that Freud would pass the baton of psychoanalysis onto Jung. They had a falling out, they had a difference. But Jung had this notion of what he called archetypes, these sort of universal things. It's hard to explain. And one of those was mother. It was a universal that everybody just seemed to possess. some concept, some notion of a mother.
Right.
So it was raised, these philosophers, psychologists, they knew that this was an important relationship. A lot of jokes about Freud and your mother and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But mother occupies this unique place in our life, and it's inescapable.
Yeah.
And so we sort of want to talk about that this morning, this unique relationship, and what we should do when we have the opportunity, like Mother's Day, to honor our mothers.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, again, as we get older and as we go through adolescence and enter into early adulthood, we look back and that's usually a time, or very often a time, when we become very critical of some of the things that we went through as in childhood and adolescence. We can become very critical of what our parents did, and especially what our mothers may have done. And I think that it's important, and one of the things I often talk to patients about is working to recognize that many times, or most of the time, mothers, they're just really doing the best that they can. And what I mean by that is everyone makes mistakes. How many times, and I will assume that it happened with you as well. Is your mom doing things, she's talking to you about something, or she's getting on to you about something, in my case, and it sounds just like what she talks about her mother did to her. And so moms learn what they do, how they serve their role as mom, based upon what they experienced from their mother.
That's right. There's no mother instruction manual. There's no mother instruction course. We have parenting courses, but that's not what we're talking about. Mothers learned how to be mothers from their mothers.
Right.
Okay. And that's what we hear. Well, my parents did this to me and I turned out okay, is typically what we hear.
Right.
But you're right. There's nobody teaching mothers how to do the job exactly as we'd like them to.
Right.
They do the best they can with the resources they have.
Absolutely. So they take the things that their parents did that they appreciated and liked and thought was valuable, and they use those. And the things that they didn't like, things that bothered them or hurt them, or
Right.
had some ill effect, they usually do the opposite of those things.
Right.
And the reality is that there's no perfect right way to do anything.
Right.
And so again, it's kind of saying all of that to recognize and just to put into place that, parenting is all about trial and error. You try something, you see how it works out, and then you might try something else, see how that works out.
Right.
There's going to be mistakes, but generally speaking, and we've used this statistic many, many times in the past, about 80% of the time, at least, or for 80% of us, they get it right more often than not.
That's right. And 80% of us survive our mother. 80 or 90, we all survive about 80 or 90% of us survive our mothers.
Right.
They made mistakes. They got some things right. They got some things wrong. But somehow we sort of patched this thing together, this quilt, and we somehow made it to adulthood. Okay. Yeah. And so, somehow we survive all this. Okay.
Yeah. And it's so easy to look and say, well, because of the, that you joked earlier about the Freud and mothers and stuff. So it's the mommy issues things, right?
Your mommy issues.
You have mommy issues. But it's so easy to look back and say, well, if my mother hadn't done this, or my mother hadn't done that, or had she done this instead of that, it's so easy to do that. But I think, especially during this time, during Mother's Day, but it's really something we should think about all the time. Again, they're doing the best that they can. They're making the decisions that they feel are best at that particular moment, in that particular situation. I've never met a mother whose intention is to sabotage their children.
Right.
Not typically, not a healthy mother.
Right.
There are lots of people who have other challenges that they're struggling with, and that could lead them to making bad decisions. But generally speaking, moms are doing what they think is in their kids' best interest. They want their children to succeed, and they feel like this is what they need to do to succeed. And I think it's important that we offer some of that grace, offer some of that understanding and forgiveness at times when they do make mistakes, and understand that they're doing what they do out of love and out of support and out of hopes that the things are going to work out best for us.
That's right. Unless the relationship is clouded by or affected by excess drug and alcohol use, and if you're an addict, or if you have one of the serious mental illnesses, generally speaking, children are a mother's most prized possessions. Clearly, I mean, there's nothing to compare to, and they are, most of the time, they're doing what is in the best interest of their children. You may not recognize it at the time, but I think it's safe to say that around the world, most mothers are doing what they can to make sure that their children are successful or turn out okay or are cared for. Okay, it's newsworthy when something else happens. When a mother matricide, or that makes the news because it's so unusual. Right. Because typically the typical relationship is one where the mother is doing her best to assure what's best for her children. We see this in the animal kingdom. We see it across species. Right. Mothers care for their offspring.
Absolutely. So as we're celebrating Mother's Day, just some things to consider. If you're a mother, first off, honor yourself. You have a very special place in the world. So take some time and honor yourself. Step back and allow yourself. Sometimes mothers have a really difficult time allowing themselves the opportunity to be taken care of, for others to do for them instead of them always doing for others. So step back and honor yourself and let others do some things for you to celebrate you today.
That's right. It's my hope that mothers have this whole weekend to honor yourself. You do have a special place in the world, and it is time to pause, rejoice in your children. They are your most prized possessions, clearly. Okay. While we don't always show it, while parents don't always show it, we are, to us, you are our most prized possession. And, it works both ways. Your children are your most prized possessions, and you are our most prized possession. And take this time to rejoice in that, to appreciate that, to honor that, but you honor yourself. Okay. And one of the ways, smile, relax and smile when you think of all the mistakes that your children made. And God knows we've all of us children have made hundreds, thousands of mistakes. This is the time to sit back and kind of smile about that. Okay. And forgive your kids for falling short. I mean, goodness. I don't know, Bernie, you were pretty successful, but most of us, it was good things, good times and bad times. We did some things that our mothers were proud of, and we did some things that our mothers don't get much pride for. But generally speaking, we did.
All right. Well, all I'll say is if my mom was on the podcast with us today, she would have a lot of stories to.
That's right. These are Thanksgiving stories, right?
What you said about me, and but that's part of it. Is that you look back, and I think that when you have that healthy relationship with your mom, you can look back at things, and you can look back at those really difficult times, and even find a way to laugh and to smile and to kind of look back at it like, whew, that was
Bernie, anytime a story begins with, "Hey mom, remember when,"
right.
That's one of those stories. This is a time for, "Hey mom, remember when I told you I was going to my girlfriend's house? Well, you know what I really did?" That's okay. It's okay to smile about that, and it's okay to rejoice. If you're a mother, sit back and smile and rejoice in your children, and let them show you how important you are to them.
Right.
Okay?
And for a mom to do all of that, you know, those of you with mothers, you have to do the honoring, you have to do the celebrating, and you have to, you know, take this time. And we should do it throughout the year, but you know, for whatever reason, it doesn't always happen. But taking
You
this
know,
time,
we have these holidays, and they serve as reminders. You know, this every once in a while you need a reminder, because you get caught up in the world of the events, you know, shootings and all the other things that are going on in the world. And you take a holiday like this to pause and say, oh, that's right. I do have this. Okay. And so this is a good time to do that. Sometimes we laugh about holidays, and oh, these are stupid holidays. Sometimes they're okay, because they give us, sometimes holidays give us pause to remind us that there are things we should be tending to. There are things we should be thankful for. There are things we should be grateful for. So, and I think Mother's Day is one of those days, you know. So if you have a mother, if you're fortunate enough to have your mother with you, present, honor her as she honors herself. She is your most prized possession. So forgive her for the mistakes that she made. Goodness, so many of us carry those our mother's mistakes with us throughout our lives. You know, we say, oh, well, my mother did this, or my mother did that. Yeah, okay, it's time to forgive her. She, I think, was doing the best she could at the time.
right.
So forgive her for those, and thank her for always loving you, even when you didn't deserve to, even when you weren't always lovable.
Right.
Your mother was there. Your mother loved you. You knew that. And so thank her for that. You could never replace her. Try as you might, you can never replace her.
Yeah.
So please, if you have a mother, please tell her that. Please take some time this weekend. Don't wait until it's too late and you wish you had said something. Okay.
Yeah.
Do it now. Do it this weekend.
Yeah, because and don't assume that she knows how you feel.
Oh God, no.
Make sure you tell her so that she knows. And again, I like what you said, you know, how she always loved you, even when you weren't necessarily lovable. And you know, sometimes one of the things that I heard a long time ago was, you know, I will always love you, don't always like you. And those are very different things, because you know, we make decisions that really push our parents sometimes to making really difficult decisions. And again, I think that they make those decisions out of love and out of what they hope will be best for us. But you know, hopefully you'll be able to look back at those things and laugh. And you know, I think back at some of the most what I thought during my childhood, what I thought were some of the most challenging situations, and now we can look back and kind of laugh about them a little bit. And mom about where I was coming from, and I know a little bit more about where she was coming from, and now it's a little bit easier to understand. But at the time, the world was so unfair. But now it's much better.
Right. But you know, one of the things that I would do, if your mother's still around, if your mother's still alive, I would sit down and make a list of what are the things that you want to say to her before you can't.
Right.
All right. And this is coming from somebody who has lost his mother. What are the things that you want to say? And you want to make sure that she hears before it's too late. And man, I can't think of a better weekend to give her those gifts. Tell her now, tell her while you can. And most of it's going to be humorous, but some of it has to be serious. And this is the best weekend to do that. You shouldn't do it all the time, but if you haven't, or if you want to, this is a good weekend to do that.
Absolutely. And again, you bring up the good point of, you know, for those of you who have lost your mother, you know, I think it's important to remember that respecting her and honoring her is still a daily thing as well. You know, you should honor her by being your best self, because that's what she always wanted for you. Part of that is, as we've talked about, what, you know, forgiving her for what for some of those challenging times when you were young, for those mistakes that you feel at least that she made. But always remember that you are a product of her, and you honor her just by being the very best person that you can be.
Right. Yeah. Losing your mother can be a life-changing, certainly is one of the most significant events that you'll go through, because nobody knows you as well as your mother. She is the person who has known you longer than anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And she is just a part of who you are, literally and figuratively. And there is no right way to manage the loss of a mother. I mean, it is one of life's significant events, and the only way to manage that successfully is if you keep that mother spirit, the spirit part of your mother, you keep that inside you, and you allow your mother to remain a presence in your life.
Right.
I mean, and that's how you honor her. So if you've lost your mother, you honor her by keeping that mother spirit inside you. Yes, forgive her of course, forgive her for the mistakes that she made, but your mother's presence should always inform you so that you can be a better person. What better way to honor your mother than to be a better mother yourself?
Right.
What better way to honor your mother than to be the best father that you can be? I mean, if you want to do something, if you want to repay your mother, what better way to do it than to be the best that you can be at whatever, especially being the best parent that you can be. Allow your mother to continue to inform you as to how to live well.
Right. So as we wrap up on this Mother's Day weekend, remember that when you have a child, having a child is both the greatest joy and the greatest hardship that you will ever take on.
Yeah, right.
And moms, for the child, you too are the greatest joy, and can also be the greatest trial that the child will have in their life. And that's sort of the way that life is set up.
Right.
The most important people in our lives are at the same time the most positive and the most challenging.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because we care, because we love, because we are so committed in those relationships. That's why they push us to those extremes of both on the positive side and on the negative side. So take this time to recognize that, to respect that, to honor that, and to just hold on to some of those, memories, and share that with your mom during this, all the year long, but especially today.
That's right. Our biggest emotions, our hottest, our most intense emotions, are reserved for the people that we care about the most.
Right.
And so it's only natural that you would have your biggest feelings would be reserved for the people you care about the most. That would be your parents. It starts with your parents.
Mm-hmm.
But your mother, I think, is at the center of that you care about her the most. So you're going to have the biggest emotions you have are going to be reserved for those you love the most.
Absolutely. So, all right. Well, that is it for today. If you haven't, couldn't tell already, we want to wish all the mothers out there a very happy Mother's Day. And especially to my mom, happy Mother's Day, Mama. So for everyone else, until next time, stay happy, stay healthy, and forget to be afraid.